You were listening to the Thinking Big podcast, episode number 5. You were going to do that tomorrow. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about the importance of doing what needs to be done today, not tomorrow.
Welcome to the Thinking Big podcast with Sean Osborn, the show helping you think bigger into your life and potential. Sean believes by equipping you with the tools, strategies, and philosophies required to be successful in all aspects of your life, you can achieve anything you believe in. Empowering our own growth makes a deeply positive and lasting impact on our lives, community, and our world. Now, here's Sean.
Testing 1, 2, 3 from the doghouse. Testing 1, 2, 3 from the doghouse. Can you hear me? Good. I remember my junior high school teacher, Mr. Torres. He's a big old guy. He would tell me, today, not tomorrow, Sean, as I was doing pull-ups or sit-ups or laps around the track. And I didn't know back then just how good that advice was, because there isn't a single thing in this world that's made better by starting tomorrow. So a month or so ago, we had a full family of squirrels decide to take residency in our attic. For a week or two, we could hear them up there playing, bearing nuts, setting up camp, and my wife kept telling me to call and get rid of the squirrels. Now, the backstory to the squirrels are their relatives moved in a few years ago, and it was a nightmare, and the people we called were not much help. I ended up filling in all the squirrel entrances I could find, only for the new generation to chew their way in. Anyways, I thought I could just take care of them myself, and had I actually taken care of them that day, I might not be recording from the doghouse today. In the days, or a week or so, before I got around to getting them out, they thought it would be fun to eat through a water line that was in the ceiling above our master bathroom and bedroom and flood it a little bit. Now, we have this stuff called PEX piping, and apparently squirrels like to chew it. So I shut the water off to that area. Some ceiling damage, nothing major. I told Amy not to worry about it. A little patching, a little paint would fix it. It's kind of like when she gets home from the grocery store and tells me the car has just a little scratch. Should be able to buff right out. Touché. I spent the next weekish trying to catch the squirrels myself and fix the water line to the bathroom instead of calling someone to get rid of them that day. I did end up catching one of those little SOBs in a trap, and let me tell you, he was not happy. And by the time I fixed the piping, the other squirrels decided to eat about another 2 feet of the piping over another area of the house. As I turned the water back on to that area of the house, that's when all hell broke loose. Water starts pouring out of the ceiling, out of the recessed light fixtures, and that's when a big section of the ceiling collapsed into the house. At this point, it's a little hard to tell Amy that a little paint will fix it. So this is when I get serious about eradicating these squirrels. I went all around the outside of the house and filled all the possible holes with this expanding foam. I hit the eaves of the roof, anywhere they could get in. I set multiple traps in the attic, but apparently the big hole in the ceiling was way more appealing than the traps, and one decided to jump into the house. It was literally raining squirrels. Now, I have 2 big Great Danes, and one of them loves to chase squirrels. So he thought it was like Christmas, and I was chasing the squirrel around with a broom. Amy was on a chair screaming, not realizing it could jump 20 feet, which it did. My daughter was sitting there filming, on her phone. Needless to say, that's why I'm now recording from the doghouse. This could have all been avoided had I set a higher priority and took care of it that day. And we can take this do it today philosophy to everything we do. Everything you desire, everything that matters, needs to have steps taken today, or it may never happen unless the proverbial ceiling collapses in and forces you. If we won't do it now, we clearly don't want it bad enough, and basic physics says things won't change when we don't act. And I'm sure you've heard this saying, a body in motion tends to stay in motion, and a body at rest tends to stay at rest. It's called the law of momentum. And if you're not moving, you're dying, and this world needs us fully alive. If I've asked you what's something in the past that you've put off doing until tomorrow, did you really do it? Probably not if you're like most of us. And here's a small sample of things we say we'll do tomorrow. And they might sound familiar to you. Start exercising, start eating better, write a book, read more books, be more productive, do the big project you've been wanting to do, donate to a nonprofit, spend more time with the family, write that report for work, clean the house, remove squirrels. Let's face it, tomorrow never comes. You only ever have today. What have you been putting off indefinitely? What's been thrown into the endless pit of I'll do it tomorrow? Stop BSing yourself, because really what it means, I'll never have time for that. And I hate to tell you this, it's now or never. We have the choice. We can do the thing today, not tomorrow, not in a month, but right now. If it's worth the effort, you shouldn't wait. And if it's not, then simply tell yourself the truth that you don't want it badly enough. And while we're at that, if it's worth the effort, it's worth doing it right the first time and not halfway. Here's a list of 5 things to do to help stop procrastinating. Number 1, plan your days, weeks, and months before they happen. This is another podcast in itself, but the number one thing you can do to stop procrastinating is to plan your days and stick to the plans. I teach the finish your day before it begins philosophy, and I have the habit of planning my full day the day before. Number 2, review your day every morning and make sure your to-do list items and your daily goals are scheduled. Number 3, quit trying to be perfect. Start with the first step. You don't have to know the entire thing. You don't have to have it all figured out. What is one thing you can do today to move in the direction of your goal? Number 4, have a do not do list. We all have our vices we use to distract ourselves from work, whether it be social media, playing games, browsing the internet for crap to buy. Create a do not do list and write it down. Number 5, every morning when you wake up, get in the habit of saying do it now 50 times to get yourself in the right mindset. You'll feel better about yourself once you've started. Freedom from anxiety, freedom from nagging pressures, freedom from self-doubt. Accomplishing put off tasks gives you a great boost of confidence and energy. And I know starting is hard. It requires courage and perseverance and all kinds of initiative. But that's why most people simply talk about it but never do it. That's why it's the hard part. But starting is necessary and it's crucial to your success. I dare you to begin, and then tomorrow do it over again. What I want you to do with this episode is I want you to ask yourself, what's something you need to start today, one thing to move you in the right direction of your goals, and do it today. Thank you so much for listening, and tell your friends, family, neighbors, coworkers, or anyone else that might be interested in growing and developing to please subscribe and listen to the podcast and leave feedback. That's how other people will find the show. Until the next episode, here's to you, and always remember your future.